extraordinary music.
What's going on, Masterclass family? This is your boy, Mr. Adams. Today, I wanted to do the Black Friday trade of the day. Now, I will say that going into today's market activity, I didn't see anything that was ideal. I didn't see any type of 5-to-1 setups. I didn't see anything that was really worthwhile. Tiva had a really good move, but there was nothing about the pre-market setup that really had my attention, other than the fact that it had catalyst the night before, and Tiva was actually a 5-to-1 as well before the market actually crashed. But what I did want to do a video on is SPY, because this is something that happens pretty often when there is some type of news that hits the market and things are volatile for a moment, and then you have a bounce back. On the SPY, around 11 o'clock, some news came out that Mr. Flynn was encouraged by Donald Trump to speak to the Russians. And that whole fiasco, has been an ongoing issue for the Trump administration. And when that news came out, the markets didn't like it, and everything immediately began to plummet. The banks began to fall, tech fell, everything just began to fall apart. So around 11 o'clock, SPY completely collapsed on that news for about a good 30 minutes. Then at around 11:40, news came out that those were false statements, and immediately the market found somewhat of a bottom and recovered majority of those losses. And what I found with SPY is that had you caught the bounce on SPY around 11 o'clock, you would have had a 10-to-1 trade within the next 2 to 3 hours, a 10-to-1. So this is the 5-minute chart when we see the collapse. And then you see this somewhat of a hammer here with this long wick, but it's hard to identify where it's finding support. So let's take a look at the different time frames that would have gave us an indicator on what to be buying if we were actually looking at this. So if I go over to our 1 hour chart, on the 1 hour chart here, when the SPY fell, you can see that candlestick wick fell exactly to the 200-day moving average on the 1 hour chart. That support. It held that level, bounced up, and took off again. Well, not necessarily took off, but it recovered its losses. If we look at the 30-minute chart, you have somewhat of the same situation. The stock bounced down to the 200-day moving average on the 30-minute and then recovered when it was known that the news was false. On the daily chart, you kind of have confirmation of the significance of this 200-day moving average on a 1 hour chart. On the daily chart, the 10-day moving average, which is the yellow line, found was support as well. Over the last 7 days, the SPY had begun to get a bit extended away from the 10-day moving average. And when a stock is extended from the 10-day moving average, you really don't want to be a buyer. You want to enter when it's close to the 10-day moving average or any moving average on a daily chart as possible to give you a better risk to reward situation. And the SPY, when that news came out, collapsed right down to the 10-day moving average and then began to recover. So if you're looking to capture the upside here, once it hit the 200-day on the 1 hour chart, or once it hit the 10-day on the daily chart, that would have been a really good entry to get some contracts for dirt cheap, especially on a Friday. If we take a look at the options chain, the 263 calls, they fell to a low of 250, and they had a high of 289. They closed the day at 165, so that's about an 8-to-1 right there. The 263.50 calls hit a low of 14 cents on that drop, and they closed the day at 116, which is another 8-to-1 trade, but it hit a high of 183. So that was a easy way to make some quick money if we were just paying attention to how a stock would react to certain type of news and how we'll react once it hit a significant support level, such as the 200-day moving average or the 10-day moving average on a daily chart. The SPY is Masterclass Trade of the Day. Dominate.